Hey everyone, welcome to my channel. My name is Alina and I'm your Russian teacher. Today I want to talk to you about double negative. Double negative in Russian is when two or more negative elements are used in the same sentence. Unlike in English, where you don't do it, you never say I never didn't or I never don't. No, you use just one negative. You use never or you use didn't, don't. But in Russian, it's actually essential and we always have to use it. It's considered a mistake to say «Я никогда был», like «I've never been». Here we have to use «Я никогда не был». Today I'm gonna share with you all the situations where you can meet this double negative and I'm gonna tell you how to use it correctly in the Russian language. So let's begin. You have to memorize such constructions as никто не, никогда не, никуда не, нигде не, ничего не. So you see all these negative words we use with the negative particle не. Никто не, ничего не. It's essential to add this не in Russian. For instance, like I gave you the example already in the introduction of my video, here I can do the same. I can say «Я никогда не была в США». So you see, I'm not saying «Я никогда была в США». I'm saying «Я никогда не». This «не» is always followed our negative words like «никто», «ничего», «никуда», «нигде» if after these words we use the verb. Не была. Here we have the verb быть. That's why we have to use double negative. Another thing that we can do is we can slightly change the order of the words in this sentence. For instance, I can say «Я не была в США никогда». So никогда I can put at the very end, but it doesn't change anything in my construction because double negative we have to save here. So you see, this negative particle не always have to stay in front of the verb, in front of the action. But it doesn't matter where this verb is staying, before or after our negative word. The next example is «Ты нигде не увидишь такое». Нигде не увидишь. Then the next one. В прошлом году я никуда не ездила отдыхать. The next one is Я ничего не знаю о классической музыке. Ничего не знаю. And the last one. Никто не был в этом городе. Никто не был. So this was pretty easy, I hope. But sometimes in Russian we like changing words. You probably already know about Russian cases. Here it also happens to two of these words. Никто and ничего. Никто и ничего we change by cases. So you can sometimes meet such forms as никому, ни с кем, ни с чем, ничему. So these words you can use in different cases and therefore you will see different forms of these two words. Никогда, нигде and никуда never change. They will always be in this form. So let's look at the examples on how we can use these words in different cases. For example, я никого тут не знаю. I don't know anyone. So не знаю никого. In this case, it's accusative case. Не знать кого что. The next one is Он ни с кем не разговаривает. Не разговаривает requires the use of the instrumental case. That's why I say ни с кем. But still, it's никто in a different form, even though it looks completely different. Then the next one. Никому не говори этого. Не говори никому. So it's dative. The next one will be prepositional. Он ни о чем не думает. Думать о чем requires the use of the prepositional case. And let's take one more example. Я уже ничему не верю. So it's ничего in the dative case. As you can guess, Russians love using these negative words, and that's why some of the Russian phrases sometimes can blow your mind. For example, try to understand this sentence. Я никогда ничего никому не скажу. What does it mean? Я никогда ничего никому не скажу. In this sentence you have 4 negative elements. Никогда, ничего, никому, and не in front of the verb. And that's what we do a lot, unfortunately for you and unfortunately for everyone who tries to learn the Russian language. But if you understand the logic of how we use these negative elements and negative words, it won't be that complicated. The rules are great and I hope you understood them, but the main thing in each language and in studying any kind of language, it's practice. So let's practice a little bit. I'm gonna ask you 5 different questions and you have to answer negatively to each of them, using all these constructions that you learned today. Никогда не, нигде не, никуда не, никто не, and ничего не. Even if you want to answer positively, don't do it. Here we need to memorize these double negative constructions. So let's start. The first question is: Куда вы сегодня ходили? Я никуда сегодня не ходил. If you're a woman, obviously you will use the feminine form of the verb ходила. The next question is: Где вы гуляли сегодня вечером? Я нигде не гулял. Or я не гулял нигде. The next one is: Вы когда-нибудь были в России? Я никогда не был в России. Or я не был в России никогда. The next one is: Кто из вас знает китайский язык? Никто не знает китайский язык. Or китайский язык не знает никто. And the last question: Что вы смотрели вчера вечером? Я не смотрел ничего. Or я ничего не смотрел. And that's it. I hope my video was helpful and now you know that these double negative are very commonly used in Russian and you cannot omit them in the sentence. Always use as many negative elements as you want. In Russian, it'll be always correct. Thank you very much for watching. Subscribe to my channel and learn Russian with me.